I don't think I've met many of you, unless, of course, you're part of the 06-07 girls or the 08 girls. Had an opportunity in a parking lot or two and ran a couple training sessions, but just want to introduce myself quickly, and then we'll get right back to the slides. My name's Keith Blyer. I am really excited to be a part of Manitou, and looking forward to coaching the two teams I just mentioned, but excited too about this extra role. Eddie, your sporting director, and I had multiple conversations, and I thought that this could be a way in which I could help the club. So what is a college placement program? If you haven't seen the emails, it's basically guidance, assistance, resources, information for you, and I mean you, parents and players, to try to get yourself to the next level if you are motivated to do so. And the first thing I would say is, the 70 plus people that are on the call tonight, you probably have some level of interest in playing college soccer. But what I say to any player, especially if they're of this level, you guys are all good players, or you wouldn't be playing for Manitou and you wouldn't be playing at this age. Every single one of you could play college soccer if you want to make it happen. And don't say I'm definitely not, and don't say I definitely am, because life can change your opinions and the way you look at things. But I'm here in case you definitely want to make it happen. My background very quickly. I was born and raised in the Seattle area. I have been coaching now for almost 30 years. I can't believe that's true, but it is. And before that was a long time player. My current role, in addition to what I'm doing with Manitou, is as the head coach of an NCAA Division III program at North Central University, which is a small Christian college right on the edge of downtown Minneapolis down here. In my first year, we have the youngest team in the conference, and yet we've still managed to win 5 matches this year. Have a losing record overall, but not surprised by that. We are building here. We're in a construction project, so to speak, and I have 21 of my 27 players are either freshmen or sophomores, so they're doing great, and I'm having a wonderful time. Also, as a background, a note, I've been a director of coaching for a number of clubs on the West Coast over the years, and was the coach of a women's college soccer program before I moved out here from the Seattle area. I have a U.S. Soccer A license, which is the highest license that you can earn in our country. Doesn't mean I'm a perfect coach. I screw up all the time, but I enjoy my craft, and so I wanted to earn those badges, so to speak. When I was a player, I was on the under-16 youth national team. This is a long time ago. We're talking the 1980s, people. And I played at Santa Clara University, which is a Division I program in California. When I was a junior, our team won the national championship. So I can kind of approach it from all types of angles. The last angle, and the most important angle, is that of a college soccer parent. So my son, Evan, is in his senior year at a Division III program in Oregon. He started at a Division II program, was there for 2 years. He transferred for reasons I would be happy to explain at the end of the call. Not all in regards to soccer, more in terms of the entire experience. So I think I've got enough to give you some candid opinions about this stuff and help you. Okay, so here we go. Let me go back to sharing the screen. All right. If there are any technical issues, I've kind of got the little chat box up here on the side, so you can just jump in there and tell me if there are any issues. Okay. All right. So as I mentioned, we're recording this, and I will send a link to the slides via email. Put any questions that occur to you in chat. You can do it as we go through it, or even at the very end if you'd like. All right, off we go. So I'm going to start with a question. In fact, I'm going to ask a few of you to put a guess in chat, okay? So we got a couple questions throughout the presentation. Here's the first one. What percentage do you think of every kid that plays club and high school soccer goes on to play at the next level in college? What percentage of all the players that are playing club soccer throughout Minnesota and everywhere, what percentage do you think it is? Is it 35 to 40%? Is it 25%? Sean says 25. All right, here's the answer. You ready? It's not many. 7% of all of you, and I shouldn't say all of you because some players have already stopped playing, and they would be included, the ones who played club for a few years. But there's your answer. It's rarefied air. It's not commonplace. That's less than 1 out of 10 of you. Okay, so how do you make it happen? Right. The first thing I would say is you have to be motivated. There's no doubt about that, and it can't just be the parent. It's got to be the player. Okay. Number 2, you got to be open-minded about where you're going to play. If you have one college in mind, and let's say it's a Division I powerhouse, and that's the only place you're going to play, you're not going to be a part of that 7%, most likely. What about caring about your academic performance in high school? So if you don't have a very high GPA right now in high school, you're going to have a hard time getting into a college soccer program. And I will definitely expound on that. Last thing is, got to be proactive. You have to do the work. You have to do the work. And that does mean parents a little bit, but I would like players to do most of it. So what does proactive mean? You got to be somebody who gets something done. Okay. You cannot wait for a college coach to walk up, tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, I like the way you play. Here's a full ride. That just does not happen to anybody but the 1% of the 1% of the 1% of players. So I'm going to try to help you to be proactive. All right, so here's the agenda. I'm going to give you some numbers so you get a lay of the land, so to speak. We're going to go through the checklist year by year, so you can kind of go, okay, I'm in 8th grade. What should I know? You don't have to know much. I'm a senior. Do I need to work quickly? Yes, you're darn right you do. We will talk about some recruiting programs, online platforms that you can create an account inside of that will really help you expose yourself to college coaches. And they are free, sort of. I'll explain that. Creating an effective video reel. That's the other question I got coming for you as regards to video. Okay. How do you reach out to a coach in advance of a tournament? And we are creating flyers for each team. I'll show you kind of an example for that and what the value of that will be. Also, ID camps. You ever heard of an ID camp? Well, can you get identified by a college coach at one of these camps? Is it worth the money? Like, seriously, $400 to go to an ID camp? Should you pay that? Here's a quick hint. No, you should not pay that. And all of your questions at the end. And obviously, all of these opinions that I share come with experience, but they are my own, and hopefully they will help you. You can formulate a different opinion, or you can get different advice, even from another coach within our club. So, what are the numbers? Right, as you can see, there are more women's soccer programs than men. All right, that is largely due to Title IX. Look at the difference at the Division I level. 118 more programs. That's because at the Division I level, I hate to break it to you guys, but football and men's basketball tends to get more of the love, and there aren't even soccer programs at some Division I schools. For example, if your number one school to play men's college soccer is the University of Minnesota, no. Division II, you can see still more women's programs than men's. It's interesting that at the D3 level, it's close, but there are more men's programs. What you will notice is there are no athletic scholarships at Division III schools. There are, however, academic and general scholarships. For example, every player that I bring to North Central University gets a scholarship. They do not pay full price, but it's academically oriented. And then, of course, you've got the junior college and NAIA route, which are two entirely different platforms or organizations. And I can answer questions about maybe the differences if you have those. But you can see the scholarships for programs. So, like, look at a Division I program for a second on the men's side. They have a roster of 40 guys. You think they're all on full rides? No. And in fact, very few of them are on full rides because most coaches, just like when I went to Santa Clara, will cut that scholarship into pieces. So instead of 10 full rides, you might get 30 third rides, if that makes sense. So it's not like big-time college football or basketball. It's just not. So what is the experience and what are some examples, right? So if you talk about Division I level, The University of Minnesota has a women's team. St. Thomas has both a men's and a women's program. And if I'm not mistaken, even though I'm new to the state, I believe those are the only Division I programs in the entire state available for aspiring players. Very intensive commitment at Division I level. It's almost like a full-time job. And again, there are full ride scholarships, but they're very rare. Division II, what are some examples? St. Cloud State, Concordia St. Paul, Minnesota Duluth. A little bit more of a balance between soccer and academics. You will notice that a lot of those Division II schools are generally the larger schools with bigger student bodies than the Division III level. Some examples there would be, of course, NCU, go Rams, Carleton, Minnesota Morris, which is where I'm taking my team tomorrow. Those conferences are the UMAC and the MIAC here in Minnesota. Higher emphasis on academics. Still play year-round soccer. My guys are going year-round, but it's not quite as time-intensive. The NAIA is a totally separate organization. A lot of international players at the NAIA level, guys that come in from all over the world. They do have a lot of scholarships at the NAIA level, and thus the reason for a high international influence. I'm going to stop and say one thing right away that might surprise you. What percentage of a Division I men's college soccer roster is now international? In other words, kids from Europe or Brazil or Asia. Yeah, it's pretty high. Good guesses. It's up to almost 70% now, which I have mixed feelings about. At the bottom of this slide, there's a great link to all of the college soccer programs available, compiled by NCSA. And yes, of course, there's the junior college route, more affordable for in a lot of ways, and a great route for players who maybe have to square away their academics a little bit, or perhaps develop their game, or maybe they're late to this entire process, and those are the only offers that they're going to get at this point. Okay, so we're going to go quickly through a checklist, all right? So let's say you're on this call and you're not in high school yet, all right? You're in 8th grade. So relax. Don't worry about any of this yet. Just play soccer, okay, guys? Just play soccer. 90% of programs don't even start thinking about kids until they're in high school. There are some exceptions. For example, do we have anybody on this call that's part of the U15 Women's Youth National Team? You might be getting some feelers. Are you in the MLS Next Pro and you're playing a year up because you're a physical outlier? Maybe. But listen, in 8th grade, you don't need to worry about any of this. Relax, okay? But the fact that you're on this call means that you're going to be ready for your freshman year, right? Again, concern yourself more with academics than soccer. Your GPA is going to be as, if not more important, when it comes to drawing the attention of college recruiters than your ability to play. All right, that may not be the case for football, may not be the case for the highest level of, like, let's say even volleyball. But GPAs matter. Trust me, when I recruit players, I ask 2 questions right away. Okay? First question, what's your GPA? Second question, if I haven't seen you play, what's the second question? What would be the second question I would ask of a prospect? If they reach out to me, I'm going to say, what's your GPA? And what's the second question I'm going to have? I'll give you the answer later. Create free accounts. Okay, we'll go through this. But remember these: NCSA, Field Level, Scouting Zone, and Sports Recruits. Those, for me, as a college recruiter myself, are currently the most popular platforms. And you can create a free one as an individual player. Now, there is an upsell to that, and I'll talk about it in a minute. But you should do that, even as a freshman. And now start creating a list. 20 schools minimum, okay? And not all Division I. There should be 3 or 4 Division I programs and 3 or 4 Division II programs, same for D3, and 4 or 5 NAIA schools, okay? Again, a great source is the list on NCSA. When I give you these slides, that's just going to give you a link right to that location, all right? It's okay as a freshman to email any college coaches that you're interested in, especially ahead of a tournament, and we'll talk about that. They're not going to reply to you. 99% of coaches, if you send them something as a freshman, they might add you to a spreadsheet. I do that, but they may not reply to you because, number one, they may not be allowed to due to NCAA regulations. Number 2, they've got They got older players that they have to communicate with more frequently. And you might want to go to an ID camp, and we'll talk about ID camps in a bit. So you're a sophomore now, okay? Who's on this call-in as a sophomore? Now you start to pare your list down. You've done some research. Maybe you realize, it's not realistic. Maybe I'm not going to play Division I soccer, whatever. And you want to start to register as a prospective recruit on the website. So if you go to a school's website and you go to their women's soccer page, and there might be a Recruit Me tab or a questionnaire or a prospects, there's usually a form you can fill out. Really good idea to do that. And then again, every time you play in a tournament, or even if you have a local league match and you think there might be a college coach in the neighborhood that might want to see you play, go ahead and reach out to them. Send them emails in advance of the tournament. I'll show you what you should put in those emails. Again, you probably won't get much love back, but trust me, you're being noticed, especially if you're proactive and persistent, all right? Attending 2 or 3 ID camps of schools you're interested in, not a bad idea. I think you need to choose your ID camps wisely, and I'll be very candid about that when we get to that slide. All right, now look what's in red, guys. Video. How many of you have video of yourself playing? How many of you have video of yourself playing from an elevated angle? How many of you have started to put clips together? Some have, some haven't. I've looked at the spreadsheet. We're starting to compile data of our players. Some do, which is great. I would guess that most don't. And you need to start compiling that video in one way, shape, or any way, shape, or form. It can be dad with an iPhone at the top of the bleachers, right? It can be one of the elevated camera systems if your team is lucky enough to have one of those. I'll be pushing over the years to come with Manitou to make sure that we create that opportunity for you. In other words, yes, I'm going to be pushing Eddie to get some cameras if the club doesn't have them already. All right, so now you're in your junior year and you're starting to pare your list down, right? You should add any school that has started to express specific interest in you. So as you pare the list, you're going to start to add some programs that you've never heard of. Do you think a kid growing up in Seattle, knew about Santa Clara University on my own? First of all, we didn't have websites, so of course not. But when they showed up and said, I'm interested in you, Keith, and they had a palm tree on the cover of their brochure, I was in. And I added that school to my list. Email any college coaches ahead of tournaments. You keep doing that. Now, coaches, when you're in your junior year, might reply to your inquiries. And like for me as a Division III coach, I can start to reach back out to you and start to be really specific with my communication with you. But again, I'm going to be honest, I would say not until January 1 of your junior year. So think about it right now, guys. If you're a junior, I can't bring you on campus for an official visit, even as a Division III coach, until January 1 of your junior year, okay? Again, ID camps, and then now we're starting to update our highlight video. Senior year is when it gets important, okay? Start the application process for any schools that you're interested in or any schools that have contacted you. Usually the application's free. Usually it's simple. One of the first things I tell recruits that are in their senior year that I'm really interested in is go to North Central University's page, apply, get in their portal so that we can start to figure out how much it would cost if you eventually came to our program. You need now to really think about which coaches have shown you significant love. If you get an email from a Division I coach saying, we'd like you to invite you to our ID camp, and it's a BCC, which your parents know, that is not significant individual interest. That is probably going out to about 1,000 players. No joke. Okay. So the ones that have had individual conversations with you, have talked to you on the phone, have emailed you back and give you some kind of specific, have set up a video call. These are the ones that are really interested in you. And that's the ones that you need to consider seriously. Okay. As you update your video, and you should definitely update it at least once during your senior year, you should be sending that updated video to those coaches that have been interested in you. Okay. And obviously as a senior, pretty much any coach is allowed to communicate back to you. Now, if they're in season, like right now in the fall, I'm obviously very, very busy. I don't reply on a daily basis, But if you've sent 10 emails over 4 years to your dream school, all right, and you haven't gotten anything back from them by the time you're in your senior year, all right, that's probably not the place that you should be considering strongly, unless you're okay with just walking on and maybe being buried on the bench for 4 years, which is fine. That could be a wonderful experience at the University of Minnesota if you can work your way into that. All right. Just speaking truth here. All right. So I have this checklist put together in kind of a one sheet. And if you want to contact me, I will gladly send it to you. And we're going to eventually get it up on the Manitou website. There are a couple things that I want to do in the next week or two, or let's be honest, the next month or so. And one of the things is updating the college tab on our Manitou website. And we'll do that within due time. But, feel free to reach out to me and I can get this stuff to you individually. No problem. Let's talk about those recruiting platforms. Okay. And when you get this slide, you can see, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but if you go right over the NCSA logo, you can just click and it'll send you right to their registration page. These are the 4 ones that I would recommend personally. There are others out there, but these are the ones. Okay. And you can see what a profile that looks really good looks like. Very attractive. So this one for Jan, I had to pick a name I can't pronounce. Zenizu, Jan Zenizu from Minneapolis. Jan's getting some love here. I don't know if he's a Manitou player. I just pulled this off of, I can look at it from a college coach's entry, and this is what college coaches see. Here's a kid, Oliver Reese from Tempe, Arizona. He's got his video linked, got all the information I need. So the more information you put into these profiles, the better. All right. Hang on just a second. Okay. So the 4 are NCSA, sports recruits, scouting zone, and field level. All right. Here's an important point. All 4 of these platforms are going to try to sell you more. And hopefully the CEO of sports recruits is not a Manitou parent. These are all great programs. If you want to pay more, be my guest. But I am telling you that if you just go to the free level in all 4 of these, you're going to be just fine. I'm not sure, like Scouting Zone, maybe that's a free trial. But again, as far as you can go into all 4 of these without paying a penny, you're good to go. If you want to do more, by all means. Okay, here's the second question. I want to put it in chat now. College coaches are how many times more likely to look at a prospect's online profile if it has a video highlight reel? How many times more likely if you have video? Now, what would video be? Yes, it could be a link to a full match, although I wouldn't recommend that. What about a highlight reel? Okay, well, I had a college coach, or I don't know, there was some survey of us college coaches at one point. How many times more likely? And this was the number that came up. 7 to 8 times more likely. I'm going to be real with you guys because I had a conversation with our women's coach, Peyton, today. I said, what do you think about this answer? He came across the hallway, looked at that, and went, that's ridiculous. It's like 50 times more. It's like 100 times more. In fact, I hate to scare you guys who don't have any video, but honestly, if I go into sports recruits and I'm just looking for class of 2026, I'm looking for center backs, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to filter by prospects that have video attached to their profile. Every once in a while, oh, okay, well, wait a minute. There's a kid who goes, for example, I'm North Central and we're a Christian school. Oh, there's a kid that goes to a Christian school. He's got really good grades. Oh, he's playing for Manitou. He was varsity as a sophomore. No video? Okay, I'm going to reach out to this kid. And guess what my second question is going to be? After, what is your GPA? Do you have video? So I think I've made that point. So what is a good video, you guys? Again, reach out to me. I'll send you this little cheat sheet. But this is really all you need to know. It can't be long. between 2 and 4 minutes. I'll be honest, my son, his videos got to 6, 7 minutes. Who was partially responsible for that? This guy. Because you fall in love with the video of yourself or your child playing. You got to put the best stuff in there and just get on with it. 2 to 4 minutes. It can't just be goals, guys. Even as a forward, you've got to show some defending moments. Maybe you're pressing from the front and you win the ball. Your movement off the ball, right? It needs to have some variability to it, if that's a word. Is that a word? My GPA was not high. Just kidding. So what would I say? If you're a midfielder, what should you show? A lot of passing. If you're forward, what should you show? Nothing but goals? No. How about combination play, right? How about your movement off the ball, right? If you're a defender, what should you show? Just a bunch of crunching tackles? No. Passing out of the back, long driven balls, clipped over the top that breaks a line to a winger, stuff like that. And what I would also say is make it clear who you are in each clip. So you can add those little circles and those arrows. Those are really important, very important. I can't tell you how many videos I've seen. I don't even know what I'm looking at. And if it takes me 3 minutes to figure out which player it is, I'm probably moving on to the next one. Put your best clips at the front of the video. So don't think, oh, I got this incredible bicycle kick goal, or I got this one moment where I dribbled 4 players in the state semis, and I'm going to put it at the end. No, you're not. Put it in the first 2 or 3 clips, okay? And again, they shouldn't all be the same type of clip. I think I've made that point. This is, can be a tricky one, but, from an elevated angle, mom with her iPhone, with 2 lawn chairs in the middle and 5 people running in front of her and that AR who's not moving from his position, right? The elevated angle's best. Sometimes it can just be like 4 or 5 rows up of the bleachers, right? The best stuff is the stuff from the top of a stadium or one of these cameras like the Huddle or the VO or the Trace cameras. That is the best video and easiest for coaches to see. Music, not necessary, okay? In fact, what if I told you that that music can sometimes kill your video? Because if a college coach is in his office like I am right now, and the door's open, and you decide to use the latest hip hop song that's got all the bad words, I immediately click out. I don't want my colleagues hearing that. More importantly, how about this? What if it's copyright protected and your YouTube video gets taken down? Okay, we're almost done, guys. Another 10 minutes max. So this is a hugely important step, right? My guess is that every player on this call, every parent on this call has, played in a tournament, a showcase tournament, right? Has gone to an event where they play 3 or 4 matches in 4 days, and it's considered to be a college recruiting hotbed. Yes, you do want to play in those events. And honestly, that's probably where 80% of all college recruiting takes place. Sadly, it's not in high school. Hate to break it to you. Sadly, it's not in, your average league match, although it can be. But generally, it's these showcase tournaments. Why? Because, there's a lot of fish in that barrel for these recruiters, right? So you're going to go to the website of the tournament, and there's going to be a little thing, college coaches attending the tournament. Any true showcase is going to make that available to you, okay? And then here's a dirty little secret for you, dirty little secret alert, okay? Not everybody that's on that list is going to show up. Sometimes they just put themselves on the list so that they can get the spreadsheet of all the players, and they never even set foot on a field at that tournament. Am I guilty of that? I try not to do it regularly, but yes, I have been guilty of that. Sometimes life gets in the way, or sometimes, it just makes sense to do that. However, okay, you should look at that list, and then you should go, okay, I'm going to send an email to these colleges for these reasons. And this is what you send. You've probably, hopefully, been reading a little bit of this as I dither on. But what does it need to have? It needs to be specific. So don't say coach of team. No, you got to do your homework and make these all individual. Coach Blyer, right? I'm hoping you'll watch me at the USA Cup. I'm very interested in your school I don't know, put in North Central University. Okay. I would really like it if you were an assistant came to watch. I'll be graduating from this high school in this year. Here's my team, my jersey number, sort of important, isn't it? I normally play this position. Here's my schedule. Make it really simple. Here's my profile on whatever platform you use. Here's a highlight reel that I've already put together. Okay. Make it as simple as possible for the coach. And if you really want to be impressive, in that first paragraph, you explain why you are interested in that university. Okay. Because now we know it's not a blanket email. I would like to attend North Central University because I'm looking for a small school in an urban environment with a faith element and the opportunity to get a business degree. I understand that would all be available for me at NCU. Or if you want to butter me up, you'd say, I hear you guys play a beautiful brand of possession-oriented soccer and you're really brave in building out of the back, and I love playing that way too. But anyway, you want to send these out ahead of the tournament, not the night before, okay? The night before is too late. Coaches already have their plan of attack. It should be about 3 to 4 days in advance. 3 to 4 months? No, 3 to 4 days. Okay. So I don't know if your team manager has reached out to you yet or not. Hopefully most have. But I'm in the process of building these one sheets or these specific team flyers. And you can see an example. I'm starting to build the one for the 2009 girls team. These are actual Manitou players. I need Emily Peterson's email address, but hey, hopefully sharing this information is not too invasive, because listen, you're going to want to be contacted. You could always put, parents, here's one for you. If you really want to be the arbiter of everything that's going on, my advice, quite frankly, this is my personal opinion, is put your kid's email address in there, put your kid's phone number in there. But if you really don't want them to be contacted by college recruiters, and you could put your own email in there, your own phone number. Same thing with the online profiles. That's fine. But we generally want to talk to the player, right? So anyway, we're putting these together. And then these will go out to the team managers, and they walk the sidelines. And if that college coach does show up, then they hand them the flyer. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a game and I've said, do you have a flyer? What are you talking about? No. Or the proactive team manager walks up and says, here's our flyer. Thank you. And I end up liking 3 or 4 more players that I didn't even come to watch. And just to rewind for a second, since we're okay on time, what would I say about the effort of an entire team? Okay. The team manager does play a pretty significant role. But what I will educate everybody in our club about over the coming years is the more proactive an entire team is, the more love you're going to get from college recruiters. So let me be clear about that. If one player on the 2009 girls orange team sends out 2 emails ahead of the biggest tournament that you play in that has the most college coaches attending, how many college coaches do you think are going to show up to your game? Compared to, how about a little team activity where everybody on the team, even the ones who aren't too keen on college soccer, but whatever, what if everybody on the team sent emails to 6 different college coaches? How many recruiters do you think are going to show up and watch that team play? Right? This is not the ECNL. This is not that showcase event. I'm talking about a smaller tournament that's got 10 coaches coming. They're going to come and watch your team, right? And what I'm going to do with these flyers too is I'm going to find out, okay, you guys are playing in so-and-so tournament. You're going to the Shattuck St. Mary showcase in, what is that, January, whatever. You could do the MTA thing, whatever. I'm going to reach out, or the managers could be proactive. There's the word, proactive, and say, hey, Keith, we're going to this tournament, and I will gladly send a digital version of this flyer to all of those coaches so they have it ahead of time. So team managers can just sit there and eat their popcorn, right? But doing both will help us. Oh, yeah, the ID camps. This is an important point. So we are on time. So you've heard of ID camps, right? And if you haven't, let me explain what they are. They are opportunities for specific colleges, a bunch of colleges together, or a for-profit company to hold camps to bring in prospects who are interested in college soccer and want to be identified by those college coaches. ID camps are very expensive, most of them. First, let's talk about the types of camp, right? So there's the single college camp. My guess is, and I don't know this for a fact, but you probably go to the University of Minnesota women's soccer page, and you could probably click on camps or get there somewhere, and you're going to see that they hold 2 or 3 ID camps throughout the year, if their page is updated. Okay, that's a specific college camp, and it's hosted by one program, and 100 girls show up. This is just my experience. I don't know about Minnesota. They did that at UW, University of Washington, as an example. Okay. Then you got the multi-college camps, where it could be the University of Minnesota, but maybe more, let's say, I don't know, I'll throw out a Division III school. I want to say NCU, but I'm going to go, we'll go Crown College. Okay, Crown College is going to host one, but there are going to be 5 other coaches there from different programs, and there's going to be a Division I coach there, and there's going to be an NAIA coach there. That's a multi-college one that's hosted by either a college or sometimes a club. Ultimately, I do want Manitou to host its own ID camp. Okay. And then there's the combine. So I'll give you a couple examples. Exact, Elite 500, CCSC. These are combine camps. They are for profit. Let's be real. They're for profit. Okay. But they can be a very effective way to get in front of 30 different college soccer programs. However, they're usually attended by a lot of kids, and it's more like, I can think of a phrase. I shouldn't use that one, though, to be politically incorrect. I would say more like a cattle call, right? And I don't know how much love you're going to get. Every once in a while, you might luck out. So what's my advice to you guys? Choose wisely. They're very expensive. Some are okay, but some of these camps are $400 for a day. Some are $150 for a day, and even that's spendy, isn't it? Right? So what would I say? In regards to the specific college camps, only go to the ones that you are significantly interested in. And understand that example at the University of Minnesota, I'm not going to use Minnesota. I'm going to say, let's say USC, University of Southern California, holds an ID camp in LA. And you're going to fly all the way out there as a high school sophomore, and you're going to be identified because you're going to have the day of your life. I got news for you. With all due respect to the USC coaches, that's not going to happen. They already know who they're recruiting. That's actually a revenue generator for their program. And some coaches double their annual salary by all the camps that they run. That's the truth. But it can be a fun experience. And you get a t-shirt, and you get to play on USC's field. Multi-college camps, I think those are the most valuable, but as long as that list of colleges attending has, realistic targets for you, okay? Combines, usually the most expensive. You get a number of programs out to those, but they're too big sometimes to have maximal value. So I will gladly answer questions. I've already had actually a couple conversations with Manitou parents about, should I go to this camp? Happy to do that. So here's just some examples. So again, links, and these are all combines. I didn't do a ton of research. I'd like you guys to help me with it. The girls, I did notice that Concordia is having one on December 23rd, hopefully indoors. All right. Yes. And what I would like to do is I'd like you to help me, and I'd like you to help your fellow Manitou club members. If your kid or if you as a player are going to an ID camp, all right, the more Manitou players we can get there, the more like, wow, that club's got some players, and they must be really into ending up at this school. So share that information with me, please. And then I will add to this list, and I'll send it out on a regular basis. Okay. Yeah, there were a couple that were held just recently that I'm aware of. So be sure to share that. Let's make it a two-way street on this. I'm busy enough. I don't want to pour over all the websites necessarily, but I think if we have everybody moving in the same direction, it'll help. Okay, that was it. I said 40 minutes, 42 minutes. Not too bad. Not too bad. All right, start putting your questions in chat. The only last point I would make is that you can, whoever you are on this call, player, not parents. I'm sorry, I think your eligibility is probably burned. But you can make it there, wherever there is, right? Keep an open mind. It may be a there that you didn't know was there. And you can do it from here. You can do it from Manitou. You know, everybody, I know parents, I've seen it so many times. Oh, we got to go to this club because that's where the kids get all the college love. It's not a lot of truth to that. A little sometimes, but not a lot. It's how proactive you are to make it happen, right? You don't have to be on a specific team. If you do the work, you're going to get there. Okay. I hope that this was informative. I see a couple questions in chat. Those of you who don't have any questions, I wish you a good evening. Look for the video link and the slides. And now you know what I look like. So here I am. I'm short. So remember that part. It's just a short leprechaun looking dude walking around. Be sure to walk up and introduce yourself to me and ask me questions in person. Okay. Yep. Thanks.